Thank you so much, Fred. And hello, everyone. Good afternoon. I am ecstatic and just excited to talk about loan forgiveness. Now, many of you may have heard about IDR forgiveness, and some of you have never heard about IDR forgiveness. So, we are going to break down a couple things today to make sure that you are aware of this type of eligible loan forgiveness and how you will or can take part into this program. So first things first, we are going to talk about what is IDR loan forgiveness. So we're going to just hit it off the bat. Then we'll talk about SAVE because SAVE plan is a certain part of early forgiveness. So you may not have heard about that either. And so if you're eligible, you want to make sure you're aware. And then we're going to talk about how to apply for an IDR plan and the payment count adjustment that's coming up soon. And then we're going to give some frequently common questions that were asked. And then we'll provide some additional resources and leave some time for some question and answers. So go ahead and use that QR code, the QR question and answer box, in the bottom right-hand corner so that you can get some of these questions answered. So let's go ahead and get started. What is IDR loan forgiveness? Well, I'm so glad that you asked. IDR stands for Income Driven Repayment Plan. Because that is the name of the loan forgiveness, you should also know that if I'm saying IDR plans, that means that in order to receive loan forgiveness, you have to also be part of an income-driven repayment plan. So let's first talk about what is an IDR plan if you're not familiar. Now, the purpose of an IDR plan is generally to help borrowers like you to have more affordability with their loan payments. And this is going to be based by your particular income and your family size annually. So we'll talk a little bit about that, but IDR plans generally are basically you're repaying your loans within the 10 or 25 years, depending on which repayment plan that you sign up for. And you can also have lower monthly payments because of an IDR plan, as low as $0. Now, many of you think, oh, she's playing around, right? I am not joking. It could be as low as $0 based on your income and your family size. Then you also have IDR can also be connected to PSLF, which is our Public Service Loan Forgiveness program as well. So if you already are or in preparation, in preparing to have a public service loan forgiveness program or enroll in the program, this IDR plan will not interrupt that. You can do both at the same time. And whenever you reach first, will be eligible for you for loan forgiveness. You also will have some additional benefits based on the plan that you select too coming in July. Now, there are only 4 IDR plans. So if you are not sure if you're an IDR plan, I encourage you to go to studentaid.gov and sign into your dashboard. And there you'll be able to see which payment plan that you have. You also will be able to see this by going to your loan servicer as well. Now, the 4 plans that are under IDR is our new SAVE plan, Saving on a Valuable Education Plan, our income-based repayment plan, which is also known as IBR. And then we have a pay-as-you-earn plan, which is your pay repayment plan. And you have your income contingent repayment plan, which is ICR plan. Now, don't worry, we'll go through a little bit more details of each of these plans, but generally, if you have one of these 4 plans, then you will be eligible for IDR loan forgiveness. So let's say, well, Tanika, I'm not on an IDR plan, and I want to know more details about each plan. We provided a QR code so that you can do just that. So if you've never used a QR code before, you simply just lift up your phone and you go to your camera app and you point the camera towards the QR code and a yellow button will appear with a link. You click on that link and it will take you straight to the website that will host all the information that we are displaying on the page. So this particular QR code is all about income-driven repayment plans. Now, if you're like me and you say, listen, I know the general basis of IDR plans, but I want something more specific to me. I want to know how it affects me. Well, you're in luck. We have a tool called the Loan Simulator. Now, the Loan Simulator is a predictability to allow for you to log into studentaid.gov, and it goes based on your general loan balances. If you don't necessarily log in, you can still use the tool, but it's going to ask you some questions based on your income and on your loans. But this will give you a basic understanding of what is the predicted amount of my monthly payment if I was to choose this plan. And you can compare different plans as well to see what will best fit you. Now, with IDR plans, something that's unique is that you do have to recertify every year. Say it with me, every year. That's correct. So every year you recertify. Now, this basically means that we want to look at how much you're making your income in that year. Now, this is again because IDR plans are based on your income and your family size. So there's two ways to do this. You can either grant us permission to securely access your federal tax information and automatically recertify you every single year, or you can manually update this information yourself. Now, please note that if you miss your recertification date, everyone has a different recertification date. If you miss that date, there could be some penalties or some things that will be affected, consequences, based on which repayment plan that you have. We'll discuss that further, but please just note that you have to recertify based on the due date, or you will have some consequences based on your particular IDR plan. Now, let's move a little forward here and talk about each of these, and when we talk about repayment period. Now, I said you're going to be repaying your loans. You're already been in repayment. So there's nothing that you have to start over. There's nothing that you have to do. And the beauty of the IDR loan forgiveness program is you don't have to submit any paperwork. Yes, I know that is a huge thing. We're so used to different or other loan forgiveness programs where you have to apply for the loan forgiveness. But with IDR loan forgiveness, you do not have to put any paperwork in. It all is going to be based on how long you've been in repayment. So for example, on the screen here, you see we have all the 4 IDR loan repayment plans, and you see that SAVE based on if you have undergraduate or a mix or just graduate loans, you will see that if you only have undergraduate loans, you only have to be in repayment for 20 years. If you have mixed or graduate loans, then it is 25 years. After those 25 or 20 years of repayment, the remaining balance of your loan will be forgiven. Now that you know how to read the rest of them, you have your IBR plan, which is 20 years. You have your pay plan, which is either 20 years if you borrowed before, if you borrowed after July 1st, and 25 years if you borrowed before July 1st. So you really get to look at your loans and say, when did I borrow these loans? Was it before or after July 1st of this year? So based on that, it will tell you how long you have to be in repayment in order for your remaining balance to be forgiven under an IDR plan. For an ICR plan, that income contingent plan, it is a general 25 years, regardless if it's undergraduate loans, a mix of loans, or graduate loans. Now let's talk a little bit about the SAVE plan. We're going to give a little break here because you're probably thinking, 20, 25 years, that's a long time, Tanika. I'm actually more in the 10-year range that I'm looking for, something similar to PSLF. Do you have anything like that? Well, The SAVE plan actually has an early forgiveness benefit, which is 10 years. So let's talk a little bit about that. So under the SAVE plan, the early forgiveness is basically that your remaining balance will be forgiven as few as 10 years after you've been in repayment if you have borrowed less than $12,000 or less. Okay, so if you borrowed $12,000 or less, and that is your original principal, not your total, what you have right now. So if you go look into your account and you say, oh, great, I have $12,000 left, then I should be eligible for this. You really have to look at your original principal. How much did you originally borrow? And that is the number we're looking at. So you're probably thinking, well, Tanika, this is not what I was thinking about. I have more than $12,000 that I borrowed initially. Or if you've had $12,000 or less, you're thinking this is exactly what I'm looking for, then the SAVE plan is for you. So if you were confused or kind of considering if SAVE plan is a good deal for you, then if you have 12,000 or less, SAVE plans might grant you early forgiveness. Now, for those who have more than $12,000 that they borrowed, you're thinking, well, what is it in for me? Well, get this, every extra $1,000 added on is just one additional year. So again, if you've borrowed just additional years, every single $1,000 is an additional year. Let's take a look at how that looks. So let's say you just had undergraduate loans, okay? And again, we've already determined that if you are making less or have brought in or borrowed $12,000 or less, then your 10 years is where you can get that forgiven. But let's say you were between 12 and 13,000 that you've taken out. It's only 11 years. But let's say that it's 17 or 18,000. That's only 16 years. Well, let's say that, well, I borrowed more than $21,000, Tanika. Am I supposed to wait till that many years? No. The thing about this plan under SAVE, there is a cap, okay? So again, that SAVE plan originally said 20 years of repayment for undergraduate. That means no matter if you borrowed $40,000 or $50,000, if you were repaying and you're under the SAVE plan at that 20-year mark, the remaining is forgiven. So that is a really nice thing about the SAVE plan where it does cap you. So any amount is going to be favorable for you for loan forgiveness after you hit either 20 years for undergraduate loans, or if you have a mix or just graduate loans, then it is 25 years. So you can see that on both charts here. And I want to again remind you that you will be able to access these slides, so you will be able to see it and look and study it more closely. So let's talk about loan eligibility. So whether you are on a SAVE plan or maybe you're not on a SAVE plan and you're wanting to know, hey, am I eligible for any of this loan forgiveness? What do I need to do? Again, we are talking about IDR loan forgiveness, which means you do have to be on an income-driven repayment plan. Now, which loans are eligible to be under an IDR plan, you might ask? Well, your direct subsidized loans, they are eligible. Your direct unsubsidized loans are also eligible. Your direct plus loans that are made to graduate professional students are eligible. And your direct loans that have not been repaid by any plus loans made to parents. So that means if you have a Parent Plus loan, you will not be eligible for the SAVE early loan forgiveness. Now I repeat, we're talking about the SAVE plan early forgiveness, not the full IDR. So if you're a Parent Plus borrower and you're getting nervous because you're saying, do I have any loan eligibility? I'm telling you, under SAVE, you do not. But under IDR loan forgiveness, you do. So stay with me here, all my Parent Plus borrowers, okay? Now, back to the SAVE. Let's finish up here. So let's say you don't have any of these. Maybe you're a FFEL borrower. Or maybe you have a Perkins loan and you're thinking, well, Save sounds like it's a better fit for me. Can I do that? You can, as long as you consolidate into a direct consolidation loan. So this is the time, Fell borrowers and Perkins loan, this is the time for you to consolidate so that you can take full benefits and full advantage of the loan forgiveness or early loan forgiveness under the SAVE plan. Now, loans that are not eligible, we already talked about that, Parent Plus loans, but also any Parent Plus loans that were paid to the parent, any FEL or Perkins loans that have not been consolidated, and any loan that is currently in default is also not eligible for the early forgiveness under the SAVE plan. Now, you're probably saying, okay, this all sounds good, Tanika. I am interested in IDR plans. How do I go about applying? So you don't have to apply for loan forgiveness for IDR, but you do have to apply to get into an IDR plan. So let's talk about how to apply for that. So what should you expect when you are applying? There is a paper application that you can complete, but we highly recommend that you apply online using our studentaid.gov/IDR website. Okay, so when you go onto that website, it will take less than 10 minutes for you to apply for an IDR plan. After you apply, this information will be sent to your loan servicers who will need a few weeks to process your application. So during that time of processing your application, you can enroll in a different repayment plan, or you can apply for forbearance. So that way you don't have to make payments during that time until it's processed. So please just make sure that there's going to be a button that says, do you want to be in forbearance until your application is processed? Go ahead and check that box so that way you're not still making payments until you are indeed still in an IDR plan. Now, let's talk a little bit about how to apply again. Now, I know if you're like me, you need a demo. Okay, I don't know about you, but I like to see things. I want to see what button they're clicked. I want to know everything. Well, we have something just for you. We actually recorded a demo of the IDR application. So you can go ahead and go and click on that QR code. We also provided the link there. So when you get the PDF of these slides, then you'll be able to just go ahead and go and look at everything. And that way you have a tool on how to apply for IDR. Now, let's talk about one more thing before we get really into depth about the IDR loan forgiveness, and that is payment count adjustment. Now, why am I talking about payment count adjustment during an IDR loan forgiveness? Well, the reality is we just talked about you have to have a certain number of years or a certain number of counts in repayment, correct? Well, this payment count adjustment can help you get there a little bit quicker than you might think. So what is a payment count adjustment? So there have been a variety of reasons why maybe some payments or months did not count towards loan forgiveness in the past. And so what the Department of Education is doing right now is that they are reconsidering all of certain payments or months to be credited towards your loan forgiveness. You don't have to do anything. We are doing this automatically for you to make sure that you have the ability to see loan forgiveness more clearly, that you can actually be something more tangible. It's not something we're dangling a carrot around you for. This is something that is actually happening for you. So what that means is that you will need to make sure that you are an IDR plan. Right? So if you're an IDR plan, or if you had applied for a PSLF program before, or if you're maybe not even on an IDR plan yet, but you're interested in, like I said, those FEL borrowers, those Perkins borrowers, and you want to consolidate and move into an IDR plan, all of those things will actually be reviewed into counting towards your loan forgiveness. So how do you make sure this happens? If you are a FEL or a Perkins or even a HEAL borrower, okay? If you are one of these borrowers, again, go to your studentaid.gov dashboard. It will tell you what type of loans that you have. You should and I highly recommend that you consolidate by April 30th of this month. So that's next week. So you need to submit a consolidation application by April 30th in order to receive the full benefit. Now, I repeat, this is only for FFEL, Perkins, or HEAL borrowers. Anyone who has a direct loan already. So if you see direct subsidized, direct unsubsidized, if you see a direct plus loan, I am not telling you to apply to any consolidation by April 30th. The only people who need to consolidate by April 30th to give the full benefit is the FFEL, Perkins loans, and the HEAL loan borrowers. Got it? Okay, so in order for that to happen, you want to go through and you want to apply for the consolidation. That will allow for you to get the full benefits of this payment count adjustment for those who do not have a direct loan, okay? Now, when I'm talking about payment counts, what is going to be counted? Well, any months. Did I say any? Yes, I did. Any months a borrower was in repayment, regardless of the payments made, regardless of the loan type, and regardless of the repayment plan. That's amazing. So basically, any payments that were made, regardless if you made a payment, regardless of your loan type, or if you're on a wrong repayment plan, guess what? They're going to be reconsidering these counts again. So you, borrower, might have some additional counts being added to your account without you having to do anything. So this also includes certain periods of forbearance, deferment, and default. Oh yes, let's talk a little bit more about that. So forbearance and deferments, what will be counted for forbearance and deferments? Well, if you have 12 or more consecutive months of forbearance, or if there's 36 or more cumulative forbearance months, they will count. They will be added to your repayment period counts. If you've had economic hardship or any military deferments starting in 2013 or later, they will count as well. What about deferments before 2013, Tanika? Yes, they will count as well. Let's be clear, we are not talking about in-school deferments. In-school deferments will not count during this payment count adjustment. They also do not count for any loan forgiveness periods either, because again, the key word is repayment status. You have to be in a repayment status. Now, time in repayment before consolidation will also count. So if you haven't consolidated yet, and you're wondering, if I consolidate, will I lose my count? The answer is no. You will not lose your count. Those will also be counted. So everything in the past, maybe you're a borrower who said, well, I tried to apply for PSLF one time and I consolidated and I lost all of my payments, right? Guess what? They're coming back to you. Yes, you heard me correct. Now, we also get the question, does COVID-19 payment pause actually count? Yes, it does. So that period of time, generally, if you were not making payments, or even if you had made a payment during the COVID-19 payment pause, those repayment months will now be added to your loan forgiveness. So if you're wondering, I'm only at this amount of counts and you're telling me 20 years, you're telling me 25 years, or even 16 years if I'm under save, and you're kind of getting, I'm not quite sure how long, that seems like a long time away. This just made it a lot closer, did it not? Absolutely. So there's nothing that you need to do. There's no application that you need to fill out. There's nothing that you need to talk to. There's nobody you need to talk to. We are automatically doing it. When? This summer. You're right. Okay, so let's talk about some common questions that we often get when we talk about IDR, loan forgiveness, or just loan forgiveness as a whole. The very first question that we get, if my loans are in default, am I still eligible for IDR loan forgiveness? The answer is no, unless you enroll in our Fresh Start initiative. If you are not familiar with a Fresh Start initiative and you are in default, then you really want to take advantage of all of these certain benefits. Under the Fresh Start initiative, not only will you be getting out of default, also, any credit card report, any credit score reporting will also cease. Anything else that's some common consequences of you being in default will also cease. But you only have until September 30th of 2024 to enroll in the Fresh Start program. So if you know someone who's in default or could not maintain their payments and they want to get in out of default, please share with them the QR code and the website to enroll in the Fresh Start program. Here's another question. Are my Parent Plus loans eligible for the SAVE plan early forgiveness? The answer is no. Parent Plus loans are not eligible for the SAVE plan or the SAVE early forgiveness. However, because Parent Plus loans are a direct loan, you can be eligible for IDR loan forgiveness. Parent Plus loan borrowers, hear me well, you can be eligible for IDR loan forgiveness. How? By enrolling in the IDR plan ICR. It's the only plan that makes Parent Plus borrowers eligible for any kind of a loan forgiveness, particularly IDR loan forgiveness and PSLF loan forgiveness. So please look at ICR. Use the loan simulator that I showed you earlier to kind of predict what your monthly payment would be if you were under an ICR plan. So again, if you are a Parent Plus borrower and you're wondering and you're asking for some kind of relief and you want to know, then ICR plan is exactly where you want to be. So what happens if my loans are repaid before the end of the repayment period? So let's say you have a 20 years repayment plan and you've already paid off your loans. Are there any consequences to that? There are no consequences to that. That just means that you have no balance left. This is loan forgiveness. This is not loan repayment. So unfortunately, we will not be able to reimburse you for any loan payments that you've made. This is only for those loan borrowers who still have a balance by the time they come to their loan repayment period. Okay. Now, do I need to work for a certain employer for 10 years to get IDR loan forgiveness? No, in fact, that 10 years requirement of a certain employer is only for PSLF loan forgiveness program. The IDR loan forgiveness is not dependent on any employer. It does not depend if you're a contractor or not. It does not depend if you're even working currently or not. It's all going to be based on your income and your family size. So again, this is the beauty of the IDR plans. It allows for a more affordable repayment plan as low as $0 based on your income and your family size. And the amount of repayment period that you have is what grants you eligibility to IDR loan forgiveness. Are there other ways that you can receive federal loan forgiveness besides an IDR plan? Yes, as I mentioned earlier today, we had PSLF, we've had total permanent disability discharge. We've also have school-related discharge options. So if your school has closed or if there's a borrower defense case, you can put in a case for that. Teacher loan forgiveness is another piece. We also have military service under PSLF that can be counted as well. And then we also have AmeriCorps, which also can be another form of loan forgiveness on their award program. So will the payment account adjustment impact my taxes? This is also another big common question that you have. You won't be taxed by the federal government on any forgiven amount. However, your state might tax you. So you really want to pay attention to your state laws to see if loan forgiveness will be taxed in your state. Every state has a different eligibility requirements around that. So please just make sure that you are aware of that. And you can also opt out of forgiveness. So let's say, okay, you're being notified that you are going to have your loans forgiven, you can even opt out of that automatic forgiveness within a 30-day period. So here's some last minute additional resources that we want to bring to your attention. Again, we want to allow you to avoid any type of student loan scams. So please note that we will never call you and ask you for your account number. We will never call you and ask you to help sign into your account or to refinance or any of those things. So please just be diligent. We know that loan forgiveness is attractive. We are helping you this webinar to clearly understand what is possible and what is not, to help you mitigate any of these challenges or any of these possible scams. So here's some additional resources for you. We have articles on loan forgiveness. We have articles on the IDR plan. We also have articles on the SAVE plan if you want to learn more. And we also have a YouTube video on IDR plans. So if you prefer a video on IDR plans, go ahead and click on that last QR code at the bottom right, and that will direct you straight to our YouTube channel on Federal Student Aid, where you can see that video. You'll also be able to tune in to the YouTube channel for FSA outreach. This recording will be there. So make sure that you get to view that tomorrow and share this webinar for everyone else who might be considering IDR loan forgiveness. And now we want to make sure that we hear you and your feedback. So please tell us how the session went today. Was it clear to you? Did you know what IDR forgiveness was? Are you able to understand, articulate it, and share it with others? Do you know what you should do from this point on in terms of eligibility for loan forgiveness? Now I'll take some time for some questions and answers.
Awesome job, Tanika, and thank you for that very much valuable information. I'm sure that our listeners have learned a lot. I know I was taking notes and I work with you. I'm always learning something new from you. So I definitely appreciate you taking the time to share this very important information. We received quite a bit of questions, so we're going to cover the top 10 before we conclude this webinar. Beginning with question number 1, are private loans eligible for any one of the IDR plans and or PSLF, which is, if you missed it, for our listeners, public service loan forgiveness?
Yes, great question. No, private loans are not eligible for any of the federal loan forgiveness programs. That includes PSLF, that includes teacher loan forgiveness, that includes Save Early loan forgiveness, that includes IDR loan forgiveness. All of our loan forgiveness programs are only eligible with our federal loan programs. So all private loans are not eligible for federal loan forgiveness programs.
Awesome. Thank you. We received quite a bit of questions pertaining to an April 30th deadline for FFELP programs. Can you explain or expound on that for our listeners?
Sure, absolutely. So April 30th of 2024 is the last day for a FFEL, Perkins, or Hill loan borrower to consolidate their loans into a direct loan program. This allows for these borrowers to then get the full benefit of not only the payment count adjustment, but also to be eligible for IDR loan forgiveness. Right now, FFEL, Perkins, and Hill loan borrowers, many of these programs have ceased and they're no longer funded, but you might still have these loans, are not eligible for IDR because you're not eligible for an IDR program. Once you consolidate into a direct loan program, you are now eligible for an IDR program. With that, it also allows for these borrowers to take full advantage of loan forgiveness and of the monthly payments as well. So the reason why we're saying April 30th is because it takes about 60 to 90 days for a consolidation application to be cleared. So because this program is going to be, the payment count adjustment will be happening this summer, we don't want you to wait till this summer because then you won't be able to get the payment counts. So April 30th is the deadline for those FAL, Perkins, and Hill borrowers in order to get the full benefit of all of their payment count adjustments and IDR loan forgiveness.
Awesome. And staying in the same space as forgiveness, what should someone know if they think they are eligible for public service loan forgiveness but they don't know, but they want to get the process started?
So they can go to our studentaid.gov/PSLF, and there they can start the application, which is all online. We also now have the ability for electronic signatures, and that application will show them which of their loans are eligible for PSLF, or which of their loans are eligible to receive or be considered for loan forgiveness. Also note, you'll also be on that page, be able to see how long that you will have for PSLF as well. Please note there is a PSLF processing pause beginning May 1st until June 30th of 2024. During that processing pause, your application will not be processed. So you can submit now, but it just won't be processed. So you can still submit, but it just won't be processed. After June 30th of 2024, it will be processed, and there you'll be able to see more of your status. But just note, you can still submit now. You can still complete the application in order to see which of your loans are eligible, and also to make that first initial step so you can get them counted, your payment counts counted.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I think that satisfies a lot of the questions that did come in pertaining to that particular question. When we're thinking about forgiveness, is it based upon the number of years you are in repayment or the number of payments that are qualifying?
Great question. So you can do it by years or you can do it by months. So months are basically how many, because remember that your monthly count is equal to 1. So each payment that you make a month is considered one payment. So you can either look at this as 200 and I think it's 250 months or 300 months. Or you can look at it as 20 years or 25 years, depending on your repayment plan. So when we say years, we're talking about months, 12 months in a year that count. So if you're looking at 25 years, you're looking at 20 to 300 months of payments or 300 payments towards your loan, your particular loan.
Awesome. And with these payments, are we counting times in deferment, grace periods? Grace periods for our listeners are there's at least 6 months after you have stopped attending, you have graduated, your university, college, or career school. How do those play into the payment count for deferments in the grace period, in school deferment?
So they do not. In-school deferment and grace periods do not count towards payment counts because you are not in a repayment status. So just to be clear, repayment status means that you are you have begun your repayment periods or you have begun to start to repay your loans. If you are in deferment in school, or if you are in grace period, you are not required to start making payments towards your loan. So therefore, you're not in a repayment status. So those periods, those months will not count towards your loan forgiveness. So please note that even with early loan forgiveness or any other loan forgiveness, they will not count in school or grace period.
Awesome. And when we're thinking about just that grace period or thinking about eligibility for the public service loan forgiveness program, is it only open to federal government employees?
Public service loan forgiveness is only eligible for government, nonprofit, and 501c3, or those who work, who do 501c3 work, but may not have a specific qualifying employment. So they do a qualifying work. There is a list on our website for those specific employments or eligible employers. So, those are the only things that require your employer, the PSLF program. IDR loan forgiveness does not have any requirements based on your employer whatsoever. It is strictly just your monthly payments.
Awesome. And we received a number of questions because being that we are in government and we speak a lot in acronyms, and whether you're on the state level, on the federal level, local level, that tends to be the language. Can you expound on what it means and how the relation between IVR, ICR, IDR, because we say those a lot, but for our listeners who may not be savvy or may not be very knowledgeable about this particular process of programs, can you explain what those acronyms are and their correlation to IDR loan forgiveness?
Sure. So let's look at it as IDR is it's a bucket. Okay, so let's picture a bucket. Everyone picture a bucket. And that bucket is IDR, your income driven repayment plans. And since it's spring, let's put in a tulip. And the tulip is your IBR, your income based repayment. Now, that income based repayment is saying that we're going to determine your monthly payment strictly based on the income that you made that year in your family size. Okay. Now let's put in a rose. And the rose is your ICR, which is your income contingent repayment plan. Now that plan, which is only eligible, which only makes Parent Plus loans eligible for IDR loan forgiveness, by the way. ICR plans are going to be income contingent plans, meaning they're going to have a contingency on your income, meaning there's a certain percentage of your income that they're going to be basing your monthly payment on, plus your family size. Okay. And then you have two more repayment plan options. That is your SAVE plan. Now, your SAVE plan is the new SAVE plan that the Biden administration has instituted this year. And this SAVE plan is an affordable payment plan for borrowers who have high loan balances but minimum income. So again, it's going to be just based on your income and your family size, but this tends to be the most affordable for families who have high loan amounts but very low income. And then we have, lastly, is our pay. That's your pay as you earn repayment plan. And your pay as you earn repayment plan, it allows for your monthly payment to be based on how much you're making gradually. So it will see the increase. It will increase based on how much you're making annually, which is why your annual certification is so important for all four of the flowers. So your rose, your tulip, your lavender, and let's say I don't know, another flower, daisy, okay, your daisy. All four of those are your repayment plans in the bucket or the pail of income-driven repayment plans. Okay, so I hope that's a nice visual for everyone. You have your pail, which is your IDR plans. In that pail are four different flowers. And those four different flowers are different ways to count what your monthly payment would be towards your loan payment. So your rose, which is your ICR plan, your tulip, which is our IBR plan, income-based repayment plan, your lavender, which is your SAVE plan, and then your daisy, which is your pay plan.
Awesome. And I love your analogy around plants and flowers, right? Giving that kind of bucket of visual for individuals, because that helps me when I think of those things to retain this valuable information. And so as we're coming down to the last few questions, I really want to understand this program and The question I have to you is, what advice do you have for those that are interested in recertifying or learning about the recertification process?
So the recertification process, your recertification date will be different for each person. So it's going to be based on when you originally enrolled in your program. Now, your recertification date you can get from your loan servicer. So if you're not sure what that date is, or you just are curious about that date, your loan servicer will be able to provide that. Your loan servicer also will alert you 3 months prior to your recertification date as a reminder that your recertification date is coming up and you need to recertify. They're going to ask you for some key information. Again, the basis of it is your income and your family size for that year. So you can go on studentaid.gov and you'll be able to see the recertification, more information about recertification. But in terms of your particular loans, you will need to log into your studentaid.gov account or contact your loan servicer to know exactly what your recertification date is and what is required in order for you to recertify.
Awesome. And last two questions. So this question is going to be a two-part question.
Okay.
The first part of the question is, what advice do you have for those individuals who have obtained an advanced degree later in life and they're employed at various employers or maybe eligible employers, and they want to take advantage of this particular program? The second part of the question is, what advice do you have for those that may not have been at the same employer for the total duration of the repayment period?
Okay, so we're talking specifically about public service loan forgiveness, I'm hearing. So for public service loan forgiveness, if you have started to pursue public service loan forgiveness, which I will say, I highly recommend that everyone submit their PSLF form annually. And I'll repeat, please submit your PSLF form annually. Why? Because you want to make sure that your accounts for each year, your 12 months, so every year your 12 counts will be added each year. You should not wait until 10 years or 20 years or 30 years and say, oh, I think I should do PSLF now, because you want to make sure that your payment counts are adjusting. But let's say that you have been working for 20, 25 years, and this is the first time you're hearing about PSLF and you want to start your process. You can absolutely do that. So you can go ahead and submit your application. Let's say you started a program again, you started a MBA program or an advanced degree program of any kind. Those can still count towards PSLF as long as you're under a direct loan program. So if you are getting a loan or if you're trying to be considered for PSLF, you do have to be under a direct loan program, which means that you do have to also be under an IDR program. So please note that as you're going through, when you're submitting your forms, that you are being considerate of which loans are eligible for PSLF and which ones are eligible, who are under direct loan programs. It does not matter if you've jumped employment. So let's say I worked somewhere for 5 years and then I went to another eligible employer for another 5 years, another one. Yes, you could submit your PSLF forms for each employer. So the form only allows for you to submit for one employer at a time. So you might have to submit multiple PSLF forms because you have to get certified from your employer that you in fact did work in that period and you were in repayment. So that employer will certify, yes, they have worked with us for 5 years back in 2007. And the reason why I say 2007 is because that is when the program started. So if you have been working public service for 30 years and it was before 2007, All the time prior to 2007 will not count towards your payments. It's 2007 onward because that is when the program was instituted. So please make that note. But any employment that you made from 2007 onward that was public service or nonprofit, government, local, state, or federal, all of that will count as long as you were in a repayment status. So if you went back to school and you were in school deferment, those months won't count. But the other months while you were still working at your employer and you weren't going to school, those months will count. So that's how we do everything. So your job will certify that you were in fact being eligible. The department will also review your repayment process and say, oh, they were in deferment during this time, so therefore those months are not counting. I hope that's clear. So we're looking at both things. It's not just the employment part.
Awesome. And thank you so much, Tanika, for an awesome presentation and taking time to answer questions from our listeners and our viewers. As a reminder for everyone, this recording will be available on our YouTube channel at FSA Outreach. You can check us out at that location. You can also request copies of the PowerPoint that was provided and presented on today in about 48 hours. At this time, we conclude the webinar and we thank you all for joining in. Take care, everyone.